Awesome. How are you today? You're doing good?
Yes, doing great.
Well, thank
It's a
you for
beautiful
joining.
day. It's
Yeah.
getting turning cold here in Oklahoma.
Oh, you're in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Nice, nice.
yeah.
Oh, I'm very interested in Broken Bow.
Are you? Yeah, we haven't been there yet, but we're looking at a resort in at Grand Lake up in northeast Oklahoma.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. So we're looking at some cabins in Broken Bow. And I've
Uh-huh.
been on a business trip in my previous life. And I thought it was so interesting. Got a chance to see Hamilton there. So really
Oh,
different.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hear
yeah,
great
really.
things about Broken Bow. I hear it's really pretty.
It is. And the scene there is phenomenal for foodies, I think. You have a different variety of cuisines, whether you're ultra vegan or a meat eater. I mean, just
Nice.
the foodie scene is amazing there. I think that's where I had pickled watermelon,
Oh, wow.
like the shell. I mean,
Uh-huh.
they did a
The
really good
rind,
job on it.
yeah.
Yeah, the Rhine, that was different. So I'm in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes. So have we met before, Tim? Your name seems
No, this is
familiar.
my first time. I've been looking forward
Okay.
to this though because we're looking at this property in Grand Lake. So we've been in property
Awesome.
management for a long time, so this is kind of a new vein for us. But I think it'll fit well for what we're trying to do. So
Absolutely. So you've been doing primarily long-term rental property management or short-term rental property management?
long term, yeah,
Yeah.
housing properties, usually single family houses is about all we have. So we have about
Gotcha.
130 properties that we manage right now, and we're into storage too. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Yeah, so definitely there are a whole lot of nuances that are different from short-term rental and long-term rentals in that regard. So I will say that the sweet spot for short-term rentals is not necessarily with having, 100%, occupancy,
right.
there is the sweet spot with a little bit of vacancy as well. So you can make just as much money if you're at the 65 or 70th percentile
Okay.
occupied, if not more than if you were at the 100% mark. And
Okay.
so you'll see that that is one of the biggest difference that I've seen over the last few years is that a lot of my long-term rental investors, they're looking for 90, 100% occupancy, where the sweet spot for certain types of properties, especially larger homes, single family homes. A lot of those homes, they do require some hand holding, a little bit more maintenance. And so you need that buffer or cushion to make sure that the product is still up to par. And that's
Right.
where you'll make your money when you do have that balance between the two.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that makes
that's a
sense.
big difference. Yeah, yeah. So awesome. I see Sharita's here too. Hey, Sharita. So happy to see you.
Hey there. I'm happy to be here. I was having a freak out moment this morning. So I was like, oh
Really?
my gosh, I have to attend Rachel's class today.
Ah. No, it's awesome. And so I've been doing this. I'll give you guys a little intro. Sharita, you and I have been in masterminds together, so you know my background. So my little intro is that I'm a healthcare professional by day, real estate investor by night. I operate in the luxury short-term rental space. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and our most recent claim to fame is that one of our short-term rentals is being featured on a Netflix TV show for due to like the profitability of the property as well as the setup. And so, but my passion is really helping busy professionals get into the game with short-term rentals because unlike a lot of the other real estate strategies with short-term rentals, I find that if you can strategically find and I love to purchase, although I do have some arbitrage or rent to rent or lease to lease or master lease, but I love to purchase. And if you can strategically purchase one or two short-term rentals, you can you can really retire, from the grind. And so a lot of my colleagues in healthcare, they reach out to me all the time to teach them how to. And so that's part of what I do. And that's part of my mentorship. And I'm super passionate about that because healthcare professional burnout is a real thing. And I know that is not isolated just to the healthcare realm, but, of course, they're near and dear to me. But with that being said, I own and operate in Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Pennsylvania. And those are where we have our properties. And we're at 18 luxury short-term rentals. We primarily do single family homes. And we're looking at a boutique hotel. We have another home under contract. This is going to be one of our biggest. We'll see how it goes. We're waiting for appraisal reports, but a 16 bedroom that we want to transition into like an inn style vacation rental. So that's a little bit of what we're doing. And we're constantly looking for short-term rental markets that are still cost effective. So recently with the boom of Tennessee, it's been very, very challenging to get in there, to make an offer that's accepted, that's within a reasonable budget at this point. And so we're actually transitioning from market to market. So we've got another one under contract in Texas, Galveston-ish area. So I'm spilling the tea. I'm letting you know where I'm investing. And then we're putting an offer on one in Western North Carolina. So near Asheville, but where, the mountains, where it's a little bit more mountains, and not exactly Asheville because there's some restrictions within the city limits. So I actually host a free Facebook group, 3,000 members. And in that group tonight, I will be interviewing a realtor from that's an expert in that market. So I like to bring deals to my community, so the realtor is an expert in the North Carolina market. So if you guys want to tap in, it's tonight. I need to advertise it in the Facebook group. I don't do the greatest job of that. But tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, in my free Facebook group, I'll be interviewing Tyler Kuhn, who's the realtor, subject matter expert in the West North Carolina region. But other than that, I come in here to REI USA to provide just value to my colleagues who are looking for an alternative option to, say, some of the other real estate, or, not an alternative, but an add-on option to some of the other real estate strategies. And so I am here for you. I've done quite a few. I've been doing this for about a year now. So I've done quite a few trainings in terms of how to analyze the markets, how to utilize the top tools such as airdna.co. I did a whole boot camp training on that. So be sure to tap into the YouTube channel to find those trainings if you want to go step by step. But I come on here every week to do more so of Q&A. And if there's a training that's needed, I'm happy to walk you through anything that you need. So for sure, I'm really excited to be here with you guys. Usually we have a few more people, but you know what? It's okay to be small and intimate. Then you get all of your questions answered. So bring them on, take advantage, leverage this time that we have together. So with that being said, Tim, did you want us to take a look and analyze some numbers for your market, or what do you want to do? You tell me.
Well, I don't have the numbers with me. My fiance has them. So I guess I'll just give you a brief description of what we're looking at. It's a resort on Grand Lake in Oklahoma. It's got 12 condos and 2 homes. And then it's got another about 3 to 4 acres up on the hillside that overlook the lake that are yet to be developed. So we're looking at that to build more condos or go with smaller, like little cabins kind of thing. So it also has a marina with 44 boat slips that we would own as well. So there's that income as well. But this has been on the market for a while, and it's kind of hush hush. It seems like the owners haven't really kept up on their taxes and stuff, so we weren't able to work a deal with bank financing because of that. But we found some private investors that may be interested in helping us look at that. So if you want to look at the property, it's Paradise Cove. Paradise Cove Marina. You had it just, yeah. Marina Resort. Yeah, that's it there. So the building on the right has 4 condos in it.
Nice.
And they're very nice. It's very well maintained property. Gentleman and his wife have been running it for, I think, 30 plus years. So yeah, so there's 4 condos in there, 2 and 3 bedroom condos. There's a deck that overlooks the lake that faces east, so you get the sunrise every morning, and it's all right down to water's edge, so which is really nice.
Why are they getting rid of it?
They're retiring,
Okay.
and apparently they must not have family to hand it down to, so they're wanting to sell it. So has a boat launch. Has a couple houses, and then there's like a couple trailer houses. There's already some trailer lots that are already there, but we probably would redevelop all of that. That stuff all sits up behind these houses that you see in the. So there's one of the houses there. That's a 3-bedroom home.
How many acres?
It's 7.3.
What's it zoned for?
I believe it's zoned commercial. It's been run as a resort, short-term rentals. When COVID hit, though, they basically switched and went month to month, and basically got long-term tenants in there, so they didn't have to worry about, trying to keep going in a COVID market, which was probably the best thing for them. So, but we would go back to short-term rentals right away. Try to take advantage of the history of the place. It's been around for a long time, and so
It looks like an amazing opportunity. Would definitely need some updating.
with the furnishings and stuff, do you mean, or?
Yeah, the furnishings, the lighting fixtures, I would update those as well to give it more of a modern feel. That's low hanging fruit. That will
Okay.
give it a pop, and then you can
Okay.
continue to demand the pricing that you want.
Right.
I'm not a fan of the carpet, because I would highly recommend that you go pet friendly, and that's going to be very
Okay.
difficult with all of the carpet.
Right.
So, you can start off with it, but the plan would be to update
Okay.
that carpeting. And this hovering TV is kind of bothering me, but that's that's just
Okay. Okay, that's good to know, because yeah, there's a lot of things that could be changed around, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
So,
it seems solid. It seems really solid.
yeah.
Dated but solid,
Right. So I like that. Give it a makeover and
a little facelift. It looks like lipstick, really.
yeah. So we're still in the due diligence process. We haven't had a chance to look at all the mechanical and stuff, but just judging from what we have seen of the property, I get a feel that they took care of problems as they arose, and they didn't band-aid everything. So
That's a good thing. And that's what you'll
Yeah.
find with short-term rentals. You can't really band-aid, right?
Right.
Because the guests will alert you, and it really, the guest experience is really important. So
Right.
yeah, it needs to get fixed, and it needs to get fixed right away.
And then on the marina, on the boat docks, they're giving $150,000 allowance for when the property changes hands, the people that control the lake will insist that the docks be updated. They have to have like an enclosed styrofoam thing underneath the docks now, whereas these are just straight styrofoam under there, and they're wearing out. So
What's the
that'll be
seasonality like?
nice to upgrade the marina as well. They have fuel sales, but the pumps that were on the dock are pretty rough. It'd have to be, updated so that it could accommodate credit card sales at the pump. So we're not sure if we're going to go down that road or not. There's a lot of regulations with selling gas. So
Got it.
it's a beautiful lake. There's 1,300 miles of shoreline.
Nice.
So we're also under contract on a storage facility on the other side of the lake. It's got 74 units on it now, but we're going to build it out right away for boat and RV storage because all of the boat and RV storage around the lake is full. So it's a good market.
Do you have the rent rolls?
For the property here, the Paradise Cove?
Yeah.
No, we don't have that yet.
Okay. What's the seasonality look like?
Seasonality is pretty much year round. We have fairly mild winters, so there's definitely, it slows down in the off-season months, but I think with the right marketing we could do well for like November and December. March, April, it starts getting nice again. We get a lot of rain though. So
Are the condos primarily 1 or 2 bedroom?
they're 2 and 3 bedrooms.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they'll accommodate quite a few people. And then the houses are all the houses are 3-bedroom homes.
Okay.
It has a saltwater pool that's in really good condition. They take very good care of that. So that's kind of a nice little feature. It's small, but it's, kids like pools.
Yeah. Yeah. And the data shows that kids are going to be the ones choosing their vacations. So
Yeah.
the more we can highlight the features that kids like, such as, if there's a game room or, board games, the swimming pool, that needs to be front and center. I didn't see any of that there. So the data shows kids are going to be selecting vacations. So they have a shorter attention span. So I don't want to see, and nothing with ageism, but I don't see older people on the front of any type of advertising. It needs to be kids jumping off stuff, kids in the pool, that kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's the trend for 2022. Kids are going to be picking where the family's going. Families are like, you pick, just to give them some type of incentive or something.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking up, I'm going to put in the address here. Let's see. I am going to do a quick little preview of 2 and 3 bedrooms in your market. Okay, so the average monthly rate for that market, and again, this is average, is $28.81 per month as a short-term rental. That's average. If you're at the top of the market, the 75th percentile, it's about $33.98. So about $3,400 per month is the average monthly revenue projected over the course of the year. And if we were to look at the seasonality, let's see. Let's see if I can. Okay, let's do that. Seasonality. So July is
Yeah,
where you peak, right?
right.
You
Yeah.
have shoulder season. I'll call May and June is kind of the shoulder season.
Okay.
August, September, October is shoulder season.
Mhm.
And you take a nosedive kind of January, February, but the
Right.
rest of the year, you're doing really solid numbers.
Yeah.
And if you can add the tweaks and do the marketing, I'm sure you can do even better than this. As
That's
far
what
as
we think.
some of those updates. Yeah. Yeah. The
That's a
hunger
lot of
and the
what we
thirst
got to
is
learn
out.
though, is the marketing, because it's totally new to us because we do long-term rentals. So
Mhm. Yeah, the marketing is huge, and managing those calendars and the revenue is huge as well.
right, right.
Yeah, that's going to
So
be,
we've been looking at Guesty. Is that a pretty good software management program? Do you know, or?
yeah, that's pretty good. Guesty is
Okay.
good. There's some others out there that are good as well. There's uplisting.io, which is good as well. Um, I know that you said you have investors, right?
Yes.
Are they going to be partial owners, or is just private money?
Well, we're not sure. We're really in preliminary talks. We made an offer on this property already,
Mhm.
but given the way the owners reacted, I mean, we were giving them their asking, but they wanted basically proof that we had a loan in place before they would give us their financials. So we kind of backed away to say, I don't know about that, because the bank's just not going to look at it without good financials to show that the property can perform. So we've
Well, they can if it's a debt service coverage ratio loan. You
right.
don't have a lender that they'll do the same projections that I will and do a pre-approval.
Really?
Yeah, based on the income. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want, I can connect you with my contact that does that all the time.
Yeah, that would be great. We'd really appreciate that, because I mean, she's talked to a couple of private lenders that but she hasn't really talked about partnerships or anything like that just yet. So
Okay.
we're
The
just
only
trying
reason I
to.
ask is because uplisting.io has owners reports and things like that. That would probably make it a little bit easier, but that's down the line when you select
Okay.
which channel manager. So one
Okay.
question you want to kind of identify which one is going to give you a little bit better bookkeeping and reports, so that
Right.
you have to be accountable to your private money lenders.
Right.
I think they may be the best right now, uplisting.io.
Okay.
But when that time comes, double check, because they're always optimizing. Guesty's always optimizing, Hospitable's always optimizing. So they may have something in place by that time.
Okay.
But
And did you say, is it uplisting or uplifting?
Uplisting,
Okay, listing.
LISTING
Okay.
.io. Mhm. Yeah, so owners reports, investors reports, they seem to be, really good with the reporting side of things.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
So I know that my wife is my fiance is not here this morning. She may be back any moment, but we look forward to talking with you like next week or whatever, and kind of going over this, because she's way better at the number side of it than I am. I'm the brawn guy, she's the brains.
I know the feeling. Look, that's my life as well. No problem. No problem. So I hope that provided you a little bit of value. Let me,
Yes,
are you a part of
definitely.
my free Facebook group, by the way?
No, I was going to ask you about that, so I'll definitely get joined up. So
Yeah, join that and look for the interview that I just had with Chris Ledwidge. He's my debt service coverage ratio lender. And so what I like about him is he does the 15% down. Get with him. Let him know that I sent you, because if he knows that I sent you, you'll get a little bit. I don't get a kickback, I promise, but you'll get a little bit of something on the application. And just tell him, look, you're needing some type of proof of funds or whatever to get this thing going. And so see if he can help. I really think he can. So he can get that.
So what's the name of your Facebook group?
It's called, and I'm trying to add it to the chat because I put all of the words.
Okay.
Like I don't play with my stuff. I'll put all of the words in it. So it's luxury short-term rental investing for financial independence, busy professional. Like I put all the words.
Okay.
All of the words. So I was like, I'm putting all the words. I'm gonna change it, I think. But look, I was not gonna miss out on any of the words. You let me have 7,000 characters. I'm gonna leverage that. Yes. So I just sent it to you.
Okay,
I sent it in our little chat here, but here's what it looks like. Here's
Okay.
me front and center with whole different situations. So yeah, I just interviewed Mark Simpson. He has a book that just launched, I'm gonna say a couple weeks ago, and it's now a bestseller called The Book Direct Playbook. It is so good. It teaches you how to get direct bookings. So of course, you're gonna start on Airbnb because Airbnb is the Google of, and here we are here, and then the Google of you know, short-term rentals, but then you do want to definitely
Mark,
book.
it is
so if you go in here, you can for sure take a look at all of my interviews. If you go into media videos, I'm always interviewing different people.
Oh, nice.
So he's
all
from
right, we are live. Oh my goodness.
So now can you use like a combination of booking sites like VRBO and Airbnb? And
absolutely. And that's the point of Guesty. The only point of Guesty, the only point of those channel managers is to deconflict your calendar.
Right.
You know, they do have other perks, but that's the only point of those channel managers is to deconflict your calendar. So if you're going to go with Guesty, if you're going to go with Airbnb, verbobooking.com, it will automate the blocking of your calendar on the dates that someone blocks on Airbnb. It will block it on Verbo. It will block it on Booking.
Perfect. That's awesome.
The point of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So Sharita, you're nice and quiet. What you got for me today, girl?
Oh, well, okay. So I have like a bunch of random questions, all related to short-term rentals, of course. So you know me, Rachel, I am a long-term type of investor. So we've done long-term rentals. We do have a duplex right now that we are probably just a few weeks away from completing the entire remodel. Mm-hmm. And because it's so close to the city, we plan to Airbnb it, although sometimes I have conflicting thoughts about it, but that's okay. My husband taught me off the ledge this morning. So I have some questions as it kind of relates to the mechanics. Just a little bit of background. I do plan to use some form of a management company, although I haven't decided on who I would like to hire for management yet, because I just don't know enough about that yet. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to think about the last little things that we need to do the next few weeks. So forgive me if these are just so super basic questions, but do you have an opinion on keyless locks versus manual locks for your rental?
Yes, absolutely. I have a strong opinion about it. So part of your KPIs for managing a short-term rental or for providing a guest experience is straight up check-in. That is a key performance indicator. That is how you're going to get graded by your guests. How easy was check-in? So 1,000 times keyless door entry, period. And if there is an issue with it, because some of them are automated through the internet, and if internet's down, that may be impacted, or if the battery dies, that may be impacted. So you need a low tech version of that as well. And so if you can hide in the flower pot a lockbox with a key, and I'm sharing my secret sauce, this is what I tell my students in my mentorship, a lockbox with the key in the flower pot as a backup, okay? That is a backup if everything goes wrong with the actual entry, the door entry lock. So keyless, 1,000% for short-term rentals, period.
And when you say low tech keyless, do you mean something that doesn't have to rely on Wi-Fi or some type of subscription? You're talking about, because I was looking online, I was seeing some that I guess they're called either manual or maybe they're not manual. I don't know, there's so many different options. It was just difficult to be like, okay, is this the one? Do I need a hub? Like, what is a hub? It's just like, what is this?
I would just stick to, well, let me show you low tech real quick, and then I'll talk to you about a hub. So something like this.
Okay, so you're putting an actual key inside of, so you're saying don't use keyless keypads. You're saying provide a key and just have it in some type of lockbox, or what?
No, I said the keypad is first and foremost, but in case of emergency, you want to have this hidden in a flower pot.
Got it. Okay.
That is just your backup with the key. Okay. So because this is redundancy. This is when things go wrong. So you're not having to drive to the property or having someone in the middle of the night having to go to unlock it and paying them $50, $100. This is when things go wrong. This is my backup plan. But this, I do not lead with this at all. This is your backup plan.
Okay.
So that goes in a flower pot with the actual key in case of emergency. But I use either the Schlage or the Kwikset, and they, they're temperamental. Sometimes it depends if, like, for instance, if there's a lot of humidity, once in a while they'll stop working or something to that effect. I would just go simple to start. And I don't think you need a hub right now. It's just one unit. I would just go simple to start. So something like this, it's not cheap, but it's well worth it, right? You get the code, you can have your cleaner change it upon exit, or whoever's inspecting the property, change it upon exit. Eventually, if you decide short-term rentals is for you and you want to go all out, you do want to make sure that you get one that you can automate with the OTA. What that means is with each Airbnb listing, okay, there are locks that will integrate with Airbnb, and each guest gets their own code generated for that day. Automatically, they will be sent an automatic automated message. Here's your code for the day. However, you're just starting, send your own. The codes that we program in there is the last 4 digits of their phone number. That's all you need.
Okay.
I would not, if you're in the middle of the city, you have amazing Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi may be fine. I would not necessarily use Wi-Fi because, well, you know what? A lot of my properties in the mountains, Wi-Fi is an issue. And my properties that are even beachfront near Rosemary Beach, for some reason, Wi-Fi sucks there as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the city and you have fabulous Wi-Fi, you can definitely use Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let me just put it like that instead of just giving a blanket statement.
Okay, so low tech as I can go, just in case Wi-Fi becomes an issue.
Yes, but still door code, keyless door code, and then the backup is the low tech. The backup is the low tech, which is that lockbox that I shared a little bit earlier.
Okay, that's very, very helpful there. Okay, because I was actually losing sleep over that last night. I don't know why. So it's like, okay. And I'll pause for a minute just in case someone else has another question. I don't want to overload with questions. I do have more.
No, that's okay. Tim, unless you have a couple more questions.
No, I'm good. I'm eating this up too, so this is good.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
And I really think whatever questions either of you have will benefit one another. So it is all good.
So I've seen this in some Airbnbs and I personally love it. Like a guide or welcome book, almost like when you go to a hotel, you know how you have this menu of like local favorites or instructions about the actual hotel itself, like where to find this inside the hotel. Or is that something that you tend to provide for your guests, some type of welcome or checkout booklet?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You want to provide that. And so you can provide a manual one that you create on your own. There are templates out there. You can buy a template from Etsy and just kind of fill in the blank, or you can provide a digital one. And since our guest avatar and the demographics can be older and younger, we provide both. So we provide one that you can hold and touch, and then we provide one that is also a digital guide as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and to start off, you can actually build it out in Airbnb. You know, there's a section for building out a welcome guide within Airbnb. If you want to utilize, you know, that as a tool, you do want to add one there potentially. But then, you know, once you decide this is what you want what you love, because here's the thing about short-term rentals, guys, and here's what I love about it. When you get started, the tools that you use to get started may not be the tools that you use, you know, 6 months later or a year later, even as it relates to the technology, especially as it relates to the technology. So when I started, I leveraged the heck out of the free platform. You know, free is an operative word, right? So everything they had built in, I leveraged that. I became an expert in that. And then when I got my feet under me and I realized, wow, this is something that is extremely profitable. There's definitely a way to create more revenue if I go off platform. Then I kind of go off the reservation. I still have my stuff on Airbnb, but I have an opportunity then to retarget my target audience, and I create, you know, guest books from other platforms that are a little bit robust. It could be a downstream goal, like end of the year, you know what, I'm going to create a more robust guest book. And so everything that you're seeing that, you know, you love about hotels, like high-end hotels, everything that you've seen that you love about other Airbnbs, kind of catalog it and write it out, and then say to yourself, you know what, Q3 of 2022, I want to implement these 2 or 3 things. And then, you know, that's how we kind of build our model. So we try to optimize, whether it's small things like update all of the rugs, you know, to make them a little bit like refresh. And so it's kind of, you know, you start off one way, but you don't end up that way. But I will tell you, for better or for worse, and I know Airbnb is sometimes a cuss word, but for better or for worse, the Airbnb portal has a lot of what you need. And if you can become an expert, especially in the key metrics that will keep you at the top of the list and top of mind, that's going to serve you well, so that once those guests, they come to you, they have an amazing experience, then you have your information all over the place. Then they can start to look to book with you directly, whether it's the same property or if you have a couple of others, then, you know, you can target them for other properties as well.
Okay. So I think you answered my next question then, in that, because I'm assuming then it would be a good idea to label throughout the property. Like for me, when I go somewhere and there's like, here's a label on the thermostat, like here's a label on this light switch, like that is helpful for me. Like, you know, it's just, and so that was one of the things I was like, should we just label things that may not be as obvious?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Clarity is key, right? And that ease of the guest experience, the ease of them navigating and staying in your property, that is key. So if there are things that are a little bit more sophisticated, if you want to label it, that's great. And then if it requires a little bit more hand-holding later on, and this is no pressure, but I'm just future pacing for you to let you know what's possible in the future. Later on, if you want to just add a QR code, you have the instructions, and then you can add have a QR code, and they can pull that up on their phone and see a quick little video on here's how to do such and such. And it could be a video with you sharing it, or a manufacturer's video that you link to, that they can just see, okay, here's how to do such and such.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that idea. And it's so funny too, I'm asking you this because when we have, I don't know why I'm not translating some of this to what we do with our long-term rentals, because with our long-term, especially when I had the time when we first started, I remember our first property, I did label, like our first 3, I labeled throughout things that weren't so obvious and things I really wanted you to pay attention to, like changing out that filter. Like, this is where you change it. But everyone always gets a welcome letter with just tips on basically, how to function in this new place that you're renting. And what we started actually doing last year was actually adding local favorites or hot spots within 5 or 10 miles, because what I started to realize is, what made me do it is when we had our first person who moved from, like, I don't know, Chicago or somewhere up north. That's what made me start including that in all of our our little welcome notes with our new tenants. When we had the first person who was like coming from so far away to live here in the Atlanta area.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe not the air filter, but
I know, right?
The same, yes, that same hospitable nature. And that tells me that you're cut out for this, Sharita. You're definitely cut out for this. You're already winning with your long-term rentals. I think you're overthinking it.
Yeah,
I really
right. I've said it to myself twice so far, like over the last month, like, you're really overthinking this.
Yeah, you're overthinking it. There are definitely steps. There's a roadmap. There are nuances, definitely. And I know the attorney in you does not want to miss, a beat.
Exactly.
But part of that is the learning too. And so I will say there are going to be bumps, but that's where the learning occurs. One thing that kind of pops up to me, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but what city exactly is that duplex in?
It's in Southeast Atlanta. So we are about 10 minutes south of downtown. About, I guess, 8-ish, 10 minutes south of Grant Park. And we're basically kissing cousins to Hateville. So 15 minutes from the airport, but we're east of the airport.
So is the city, and this was what I hate about Atlanta so much. It's like, sometimes I don't know.
Yes.
It depends on the address. If it's Atlanta, some addresses say Atlanta, some addresses say, Forest Park, some say Hateville, and sometimes it says Atlanta. Does the address say Atlanta?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so did you saw the regulations, right? That just came down?
No, I didn't. So please fill me in.
Okay, and I want you to more so fill me in because you're an attorney. So here is, let me show you. I'm still working on the interpretation of it, but let me pull it up and that's why I asked Tim a moment ago about his the zoning. I'm big on regulations. I'm so big on it.
I love that you're like that, because even with me being an attorney, like when it comes to business, I'm like, okay, how can we figure out the answer so that the answer is yes? Okay, not necessarily like, I'm always looking for the yes. How can we legally get to yes?
Exactly. And that's where I think there's a lot of benefit in this conversation, because there is a way to legally get to yes. And so what we're going to have to learn to do is kind of navigate to it. And you'll see in here, like, the discrepancies are insane.
They're probably purposely that way too, from a law.
I know. So where are you? And I'm still looking. Okay, so I'm not finding it readily, but here's how I search for short-term rental regulations in an area. So this is actually a good little boot camp training. So the first thing I do is I go to Google and I say short-term rental ordinance. and then I'll say the city, okay, Atlanta. And what I'm looking for, you see, the first thing you'll see are some hello landing, I don't care, Atlanta government ordinance, that's what I'm looking for. So
Okay.
sometimes you won't see anything. And if I see nothing, I'm not gonna look at the news yet or anything like that. But this is just for the purpose of training real quick. So if you see this right here, this is what you want. Ordinance, municipality code, municode, short-term rental. This is the kind of stuff you want to see. Once you see that, you can go in, but if you don't see it, the next step is to call the county clerk's office and ask them, what are the short-term rental ordinances for Atlanta? And if they say, well, there aren't any, I ask a follow-up question, well, what is in draft? And they'll let me know if they do have something in draft coming down the pike. If they say there's nothing in draft, then I call the zoning department or a building and maintenance or whatever they name them, because it's named differently for different townships and parishes and cities and all that. And so I call them and I say, what are the short-term rental ordinances, blah, blah, blah. So I go through that process. That's the crux of it. So this just came out last week. So Atlanta City Council adopted a new ordinance that March 15th that states that a license will be obtained. A license must be obtained, okay? The ordinance goes into effect March 1st of 2022. So March 15, 2021, but it goes into effect March 1st, 2022. And you know how you have Airbnb, your Airbnb listing? Within that listing, there's going to be a spot that Airbnb requires you to put in your license or your permit number.
Okay.
Otherwise you can't operate, okay? And so applications you have to apply are anticipated to be available on March 1st, and you have to comply by April 1st. Any activity after April 1st is where you start to get dinged. Okay, that's kind of what I'm reading. And let me actually send this to you in chat, but you just saw how I searched it up, so it shouldn't be too challenging, but I'll send it to you in chat. Where are you, chat?
It's so funny. I actually remember reading about the draft of this last year.
Yep, right. It became like a thing last year, but now it's here. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Click on this now.
And I don't know where it went. It went away. Yep. So easy peasy to find it. And so here's what the requirements for the permit are. And this is where I need you to put on your attorney's hat.
Yeah.
To see, okay, so the rules are who can apply. Right. Owner of the property, an agent or long-term tenant can apply. Okay. But the number of properties is where I think a lot of people's feathers are ruffled. Okay. Because it says you have to, your primary residence has to be in the city as well.
Okay, let me read this for a moment. I'm gonna pull it up on my end so I can kind of scroll a little bit. Let me see. So the background, okay, it's been adopted. It's a short-term rental license may be obtained by a short-term rental owner or tenant. Or short-term rental for okay, no residence in one additional dwelling unit without additional. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so seems like it may be multi-layered. The first part is, and it's interesting they say may be obtained. Maybe doesn't sound like a requirement. So that a short-term rental license may be obtained by a short-term rental owner or the tenant of that rental for their primary residence and one additional dwelling unit without any additional requirements, fees, permits, license, on blah, blah, blah. So it sounds like if you fall within this category of people, this does not apply to you. That's how I'm reading it. This first section, when we're just talking about the background. But what I also question is, does this mean, and I may be reading this too narrow, because it actually is prompting more questions than answers.
Yeah.
This additional dwelling, are we talking about like an auxiliary dwelling that's on the same property as the primary residence? Or are you saying, this is my second short-term rental? So it doesn't matter where it is, you know, if it's in the city, like let's say I have two, then I don't have to. So I think no matter what's being said here, it sounds like if you have 3 or more in the city, you may need to call for additional information, because it sounds like you're going to have to get a license or some type of permit. Now, let me read this second paragraph. The ordinance established a legal process whereby residents may be authorized to rent or allow their tenant to rent their primary residence for blah, blah, blah. The new rule will become effective. Requires agents or hosts who wish to engage in to apply for a license with the city and post their City of Atlanta short-term rental license on all advertised. Hosts must adhere to all requirements. Okay, yeah, okay, let's go to frequently asked questions. Okay. Maybe there's an answer here. How do I apply? Nope, that's not it. Who can apply? This may.
Okay, right here. What will happen if I use my property as an STR but fail to obtain a license? Because I felt like you, like maybe you don't need one.
Yeah.
But what will happen if I use? Yeah. But it says failure to obtain is unlawful and will result in enforcement action, including citations and a mandatory 1-year waiting period before any application for a short-term rental license will be accepted or considered. So that right there told me, oh, okay, so it's not as optional. And the other thing that reinforced it was Airbnb sent out a letter to all the owners and say, going forward, you need to provide us a permit number in order to operate your short-term rental.
So here's what I think is probably going to happen practically.
Okay.
And obviously we don't know for sure. I think there probably is an exception here.
Okay.
To or in terms of the ordinance, there probably is an exception based on the number that you own. Although my question would be, does this additional dwelling have to actually be on the same property of my primary residence? Because like that's my situation where I have an auxiliary. This duplex is technically like an auxiliary dwelling. My house is on the same parcel. But behind me, there's the duplex. And now look at this, it's a duplex. So right, I have 2 units. So does that now apply to me? It's not just one dwelling unit. I have 2 now, right?
Right.
So then it gets murky because does my one building count as an additional dwelling unit, just one additional dwelling, or does it count as 2? Because I'm definitely renting out both units. So you would almost have to call someone, and guess what? They probably haven't even figured all this out yet. Yeah. And so, but still, you almost have to call and ask. And so I think what's probably going to happen is we're going to have one rule in the city, and then this is me. If I was Airbnb, I would just say, listen, you need it regardless. We're just going to have a higher threshold than the city because it's murky. That's like, if this was like, if I were Verbo or something like that, that's what I would say. Like, you're just gonna have this license to just operate, period. Until, I mean, did they say anything in clarity with that letter that clarified their interpretation with the letter when you received your letter from Airbnb?
Well, I didn't receive it. I had a client that received it because I'm not in the city of Atlanta.
Okay.
So here's the letter. Say, we want to touch base to provide information. I just copied it from a text message. Helpful resource. Atlanta begins implementation of new STR rules. As you may know, March 15, they passed legislation, blah, blah, blah. The new rules require hosts to obtain a license to operate their primary residence and up to 1 additional dwelling unit as STRs. When the new rules take into effect, hosts will be able to apply for the license in a portal. Be aware that the city will make the registration mandatory for all hosts currently operating an STR a month later on April the 1st. So we highly encourage you to apply for a license as soon as the portal opens on March 1st. To help you through this process, pretty much here's the link.
Right. So let me take you back up to that first paragraph.
Okay.
This kind of reinforces what I was thinking.
Mhm.
So here, Airbnb in that first paragraph doesn't sound like it has an exception, that when you look at the city's page on this, the city sounds like there's an exception. Airbnb sounds like they're not creating an exception. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter necessarily what the city does. It sounds like they are leaning towards a higher threshold and enforcing this licensing. See, look at the last sentence. The new rules require hosts to obtain a license to operate their primary residence and up to one additional dwelling. Let's look at what Atlanta says, the city of Atlanta. Short-term rental license may be obtained by a short-term rental owner, I'm going to skip a little bit, for their primary residence and one additional dwelling unit without any additional requirements, fees, permits, licensing, zoning, blah, blah, blah. So I hate the fact that they're using the term maybe.
Yeah.
I really hate that.
And then without the additional, well, what if I want
it's confusing.
5? Can I get it with the additional? I'm willing to pay the additional. So that's the part where it's like, you're right. It sounds like there's an exception. If you're able to do these extra steps, we'll let you have 13 short-term rentals. So that's where I think the lack of clarity is, but they've been going back and forth. Airbnb was in Atlanta talking to them. So this is what they drafted based on back and forth. And I think a couple of things in here. What if I'm an investor right here, 15? What if I'm an investor and I own multiple properties within the city of Atlanta? Can I obtain a short-term rental license for all properties? And it says you're allowed to obtain a short-term rental license for your primary residence located within the city of Atlanta and one additional unit within the city of Atlanta.
Right. So that's me answering without answering it. All I did is, this is the drone who works for the city government, who basically copied and pasted.
Copied and paste, right? Control find.
Instead of really answering the question.
Right.
But I would guess that it sounds like you need a license per property is what I'm reading it. And I think we're going to have some back and forth for a year and a half before we really have the clarity that we have. And so if this is me and I'm like, and this is me because I'm in the city of Atlanta. Yeah. Now what I'm probably going to do, whether I really need this or not, I'm going to do what Airbnb says, because practically speaking, I can't operate unless Airbnb allows me to operate on the site regardless. Absolutely. So I'm going to just go with Airbnb, take the higher standard, just because. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, like, isn't this license just like $100 or something a year?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So the faster you do, or $150 a year. Yeah. The faster you do it, the better. Because my only concern is I hope they don't try to limit it, So the faster you do it, the better. So March 1st, it opens, just go in there immediately.
Okay. I'm about to put on my calendar, like right now, I'm about to do this, like apply for this license. I'm so glad we're talking about this.
Yeah. And I want to invite you to look at a Facebook group. It's called Amstra. Rich Monroe, right?
Oh gosh, why is that name so familiar?
He does the Airbnb group here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So he just created a group just surrounding the regulations, how to apply for the license, all of that. So that's his whole thing is the regulation. So Rich has a group called Amstra. I would encourage you to try to join his Facebook group. Here it is, Atlanta Metro Short-Term Rental Alliance, just so that you can stay in the know. I know there's like a little membership fee. I don't know how much it is. Yeah, that's friends or memberships. let me see, supporter member. I might do a friends because honestly, let me see how much is it for the membership. Okay, 45 for 4 properties quarterly. Probably not a contract. It might be worth it for you to join even just for the quarter to get, because he's doing tips and tricks on how to get your, because he has probably like 40 rentals, right? So he's panicked, of course. It's called AMSTRA. Yeah.
Okay.
TRA, but he has a Facebook group. So see if he'll let you join the Facebook group. And he's doing some Zoom calls on, what you need to know.
That's good. Okay.
And he's legit, you see, preserving Atlanta's vibrant short-term rental community.
Can you put that in the link too, if you don't mind?
Yeah,
I think you've already got
that real quick. Yeah. And I know we're at the top of the hour. Tim, any final questions before we wrap up? I don't want to just leave you hanging. Let me see if Tim's still with us. He probably jumped off.
Nope, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Yeah,
No.
so Tim, this is part of, I know you're seeing how the sausage is made, but this is so important and it's near and dear to me. And it's something that I don't think you'll have to encounter with the fact that you are commercially zoned. But this is what one big thing that I do. I look at regulations when it's a residential property to make sure that I'm, operating in a way that is compliant. Okay, look, February 23rd, tomorrow at 4 p.m., he has the Zoom call.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you can register for this. I'm going to, after registering, you'll receive, I'm going to add this to the chat, Sharita.
Thank you.
Grab that link so you can register. I don't know if he's going to charge for it or if it's free, but
I think it's like worth going to.
It's worth going to. Yeah, Rich is legit. He's very, very much legit. He's very low key, so he could be a little bit boring. So let's get some coffee going, but he's totally legit. I love him.
I don't know why I'm it's because it's not open yet. Okay. So because I was I'm clicking on this and it's taking me to the Zoom page, but
please register on the link below though. Oh, maybe this is another link.
Okay, I see. Okay, I got it. You
got where to register?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He has 2 links or something
okay
on there.
Okay.
But yeah, I like this a lot. Rachel, I love your process in looking for the regulations.
Yes.
I'm going into commercial real estate. And so I've hired a commercial coach. And this sounds a lot like the process that even I'm supposed to go into when just trying to figure out, is there anything I need to know in terms of like code violation issues with a particular property, or I just want to clarify the zoning of it. It's kind of like a 2-3 step process. If this person says this or doesn't know, this is the next. I love this, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely. Because short-term rentals are in a place where it's growing, but it's still new, right? And so we just found it really easy, but it's not going to be that easy. So if it's not that easy to find the ordinances, I want to give everyone a roadmap. Okay, what do you do next? Who do you talk to next? Who do you talk to next? What do you say to them? Because they're like, when I get to building and coding, they want to ask a lot of questions and I have to put them in their place. I tell my students, no, put them in their place. Hey, I'm a tax paying, citizen here. You don't need to know all of that. Just give me the information that I'm asking for. And so if you're not confident enough to do that, reach out to me or someone, who has a little bit of, someone who kind of gets on your nerves. They're so like, but they'll get the job done. That type of person needs to ask that question because they can be, unfortunately, and if any of you are zoning people, I apologize, but they're bullies sometimes. They are bullies sometimes. So I'm like, no, you're not going to bully me. I have rights. And so you just want information to know, what you can and cannot do. And then you need it in writing also. Very important, you need it in writing because over the phone, they start making up stuff too.
Yes, so. That absolutely makes sense. Rachel, what's your consulting fee? Because I need like an hour, 2 hours with you to feel confident going into the next, renting this out or getting this prepared within the next month or so.
Well, I don't do one-on-one consulting at all. I just do the coaching program. But reach
Okay.
out to me. I'll connect you to when we're enrolling again, because honestly, it's not a one and done. Like I have students who have 8 properties, right? Although my goal is to get you started, but I have students who have 8 properties. They know exactly what it takes to get started, but now they're at the point where they're working with investors. They're not making money, not enough for themselves nor the investors. So they're panicked, and I get it. So how do we get you making money? What are your books looking like? What are your key performance indicators? Do you even know what that is? How do we get those going? How do we get your revenue up a little bit? Well, why do you have so many complaints from guests? How do we optimize? And so it's not something that's kind of a one and done short-term rentals.
Right.
You kind of have to refresh and reinvent it. So at minimum, 12 weeks with me is what most people need in order to get on the path, so to speak. So that's the minimum, if that makes sense.
It does. Now, quick question: when you say some of your students are working with investors, how so?
Mhm.
Are they just have a syndication for investors? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, so some of them create funds and some of them have syndication. It's really interesting, to be honest, and I'm very intrigued by it. So what they're doing is they're purchasing like a bundle of 4 or 5 single family homes and
Oh,
sticking it in a fund, okay? And then they may have the lending down, but they have the investors come in to give the down payment, to chip in on the down payment, whether it's, and they're doing mostly a friends and family round, so not necessarily a Reg D or anything crazy like that. So yeah, and they're pitching in 20K, 5K. Only one person did 5K, but 20K, 30K to chip in on the down payment, and then and they're splitting the profit sharing on that.
got it. Get it.
And then they're going to buy another 5, a bundle of 3, 4, or 5, and then they'll batch another set of investors. Honestly, it's a bookkeeping nightmare to me, but they're working it out. They're working it out because you want, yeah. So they're working with an entity specialist to restructure it a little bit for the next one, because it became a bookkeeping nightmare.
Oh my gosh, it sounds like it, but it also sounds very intriguing. Definitely, like there is a business in it. Like I do see that. It's just I see they definitely need to work with you for sure, to get the profit like where they want it to be and to
Absolutely.
automate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so they just wanted to do a consulting. I said, I don't really do consulting one-on-one because you need the whole package. I'm doing you a disservice. They really don't think they need, for instance, how to find and analyze a property, but the person that they put in charge to do the management or to help with the pricing, well, they don't know how to do any of that. So if you don't know how to analyze the market and what your competition is doing, then how can you effectively and confidently price your nightly stay?
For sure.
Although you think you're at level 8, no, you're back to level 1. We need to get the foundations going. And that's really why. So a lot of people want one-on-one, but they don't need one-on-one. They need like the whole thing from beginning to end, even those who are at 8 to 12 properties, because obviously we still need to optimize. And then when seasonality hits, right?
Yeah.
How do we, keep our bookings up? And so I have a whole 32-step action plan. We're going to try this. We're going to try this. We'll do 5 a day, 5 different tweaks to your listing. Yeah, it's insane. But that's how we stay completely booked. Even during the off seasons, like people are asking, I kind of have a wait list for people, just in case someone cancels. That's how booked we are. It's because we just have a roadmap, kind of what I showed you, roadmap. You do this and you do this and you do this, because if you're not visible to guests aren't going to go to page 2 or 3 on Airbnb to find you. Some of these people are coming to me, they're on page 17. And so my goal is to get them on page 1, because that's the first step to getting your visibility up, right? And I want you the top 10 because you're above the fold. If you're below the top 10, then what are we doing? So my properties are on page 1 above the fold because there are certain steps that I take. I schedule them to make sure that we continue to stay on top. So it's the work. It's some work, but you figure out what works and what doesn't.
I mean, it sounds like it. I'm gonna have to figure out like when I can incorporate your program in. Like I literally, January, beginning of January, joined this commercial coaching. We meet 5 times a week. It's just like 5 times a week. I have a call at 11. So it's like, this program is like, oh my gosh. But as you know, you and I both believe in programs and
educating yourself, right?
Yes, for sure. I just have to figure out how to balance it all.
Yeah, no, let me know. I will say that ours require an hour a week at this point. So when you can squeeze out an hour a week, just reach out and definitely I'll get you plugged in for sure.
I will. This has been so awesome today, Rachel. Thank you so much. And Tim, good luck and congratulations on everything you're working on.
Yes, it's amazing, Tim. All right, bye for now, guys. See you next month.
All righty, bye.
Thank you.
Okay.